Hi, in this video we're going to modify our Windows 10, turn it into a corporate standard operating environment, and then we're going to sysprep it and cast it back to our WDS server ready to be deployed out to yet another machine. So let's have a quick look at our Windows 10 machine. And okay, it's got some edge thing. Okay, that's edge. Okay, so what we're going to do, okay, we've put the old driver back on, that's good for the video. Okay, so I'm going to use edge to go out to, I'm going to go to 99.com. And I'm just going to pick a few apps that we might have if we were setting up a machine for a corporate environment, say. Okay, might have GreenShot for screen capturing, utility or two, say 7-zip for compression, VLC for playing movies, Chrome, LibreOffice for the office, and Sumatra PDF to look at any PDFs that we download. I haven't got anything to do with graphics or anything like that, but you know, que sera. And we're using the inbuilt antivirus and firewall, so I think that's a reasonable representation anyway. We could put some extra utilities here like PuTTY and WinSCP, but or FileZilla or Notepad++. But we'll leave it for that for the moment. Get our Ninite. Here it comes. Scans for viruses. We're going to run it. Okay, so while that's doing that, show the details. Okay, so it's downloading and installing stuff. I'm going to unpin from the taskbar a few things. I might put CMD on there. Pin it to the taskbar. And yep. What else might I do? Can I personalize this thing? Okay, so let's just change the background. Oh, actually I can't until it's been... No, I can't. Okay, until it's been activated. Let's delete that and remove it from recycling. Now when you cast this back out to a new machine, it'll automatically put Edge and all that rubbish back on anyway. That's Microsoft for you these days. The other thing we really need to check is our hard drive. We do need a partition that allows us to, so at the moment it's basically half full, 25 gigabytes and 25 gigabytes free. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually shut this machine down, add another 50 gig drive, and come back in and format it and all the rest of it, so that we've got a partition that allows us, when we're making the image of our corporate environment here, and it needs to save it obviously not on drive C. Okay, so we need another drive to do that with. So there's two ways that we could do this. We could put it out to a, can I go to shared folders? I could put a shared folder in and make it a network drive so it saves it out to the network. But it's probably just as easy to give it another drive. If I'd have made this drive big enough in the first place, like say 100 gigabytes, I would have just partitioned it off here right now, and that would have been fine. But I'm currently less than half. It's only 24 gigabytes free out of 50 roughly. So I've used 26 and I've got 24 left. Okay, and then I need to sysprep this thing anyway. It's just a matter of setting this up ready to be imaged and cast back to our WDS server. So we've almost turned this thing into a corporate standard operating environment. We're just adding all the right sorts of tools and everything that you might normally have on there. So what I'll do at the moment is I'll just pause this while we're waiting for that to finish. Okay, so we can see that Ninite's finished doing its installation, and we could now consider this machine to be the standard operating environment for our corporation, and the one that we want to cast out to basically every other machine. So this is going to be the reference, or what's often called the golden image of our network. So what I'm going to do is quickly shut it down and shut down. I'm going to add in another 50 gig drive. Okay, so on this machine, on the storage, I'm going to add another hard drive. So this is going to be, what other names have we got for hard drives here? So this is going to be C for Win 10. Whoops, sorry, should be creating a new one. Create dynamically allocated. Okay, so it's created one for me with an underscore 150 gigabytes. Perfect. Create. And that's the one I should be selecting, that one there, and going choose. So now I've just added that extra drive, and I'll start it back up again. So I'm going to escape the network boot. put that to one side for the moment. Let's see if I can get my server up as well. There it is. So this is the same server that we had for casting out the this operating system out from the image that we had put in to the Windows deployment service. So when this opens up, you can see on servers, we can see the boot image, and we can also see in the client OS's the actual image that we deployed out to this machine here. We've now modified it, obviously. So let's go. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right mouse click on this and go to disk management. It'll pick up that new drive that I've just added in. Okay, it's picked it up. We're going to MBR it. Right mouse click and use simple volume. Next. Next. It can be whatever drive, it doesn't really matter. And it's going to be just a data drive. Perform a quick format. Next. That's the summary. Finish it. Take no action. Okay, so just move this up. We've got drive C here. We've got drive D is the CD-ROM. Drive E is the data drive. So later on, we need to make sure that we pick this drive, not the data drive. The drive letters will get jumbled around a little bit. But this one's obviously bigger than that one, just by a little bit, 0.5 GB. Okay, so so we've got the drive we need. So before we actually sysprep this thing and reboot it to come and pick up an image, we need to do some stuff on the server first. Okay, so if we have a look at our boot image, here it is. This is the one that does the setup. Okay, so what we're going to do is right mouse click on that boot image, and we're going to create a capture image. So because we want to capture this operating system. So I'm going to change the image name from setup to capture. And I'll change that one to capture as well. Capture image. I'll put image in there as well. Okay, location of the file. Okay, so we need to create a directory and stick it somewhere. So currently, this is our remote install directory. What I'm going to do is create a new folder in here and call it, say, capture image. So that'll be our new directory. And we're going to call it Windows 10 x64 Windows 10 Pro x64 capture image. There we go. And this is a WIM file. It creates it as a WIM file. I'll just capture will do. Windows 10 Pro X64 capture. Okay, so this will be the image or capture of this operating system. Is going to go into this file. Okay, so that's what it's going to be called. Next. It needs to know about that so that when we actually run the capture from the boot image, that it knows where to store the image that it's capturing into that capture image folder that we've just created on drive W. Okay, so this is actually extracting the image, from the boot WIM. It's creating a capture boot WIM effectively. So it's creating a new boot WIM that's set up to capture back to the capture image folder into the file name that we specified. So this is just a sort of a wizard to create that new capture boot WIM. So we'll just pause till this is finished extracting and creating that image for us. Okay, this capturing the image is really slow. It could be on yours as well, so I'm just going to have a look at the task manager and processes. CPU is 100%. Okay. The management console. So that means this Windows Deployment Services management console is, well, we've got 100% CPU. So if I go performance, yeah, look at that. I'm redlining the whole thing. Now, this virtual machine's only got one socket, 2 cores, 2 logical processors, are running at 2.1 gigahertz. So I think giving this, the memory's not a problem. We're only using 48%, so it's definitely CPU bound. I think if we actually gave our server a bit more CPU power, then it would go a bit better. Currently it's just gone back down to 65. Okay, so hint to self when you're creating your domain controller, your WDS domain controller, give it a bit more CPU power is a good idea. This is working, it's just slow because of it's CPU bound. Okay, so it's still creating, it's updating the metadata at the moment. I imagine my CPU is still maxed out. Yeah, 100%. Okay, so we've successfully created the image. The operation is complete. It took a terrible long time on this particular virtual machine. I don't think I gave it enough CPU power. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to tick the box here to add that image to the deployment server now. So it'll copy it back in. And we're going to call it into the location of the file that contains the image to add. So it's picked up the image that we've just created. So we just click next on that. And this is going to be the capture image, that's correct. Yep. Okay. So this is copying the boot WIM for capturing a client operating system back into the boot images. So it's adding a boot image into here. Okay, so we can see that it's just finished. Selected images were successfully added to the server. I'm going to hit finish. So what we can see now is in our boot images we've got the setup image, and now we've got a capture image, or set up the operating system now is to capture an image of an existing operating system. The client operating system is still just the Windows 10 Pro. So we're now got our WDS server side set up, ready to receive an image. So we need to go back to our Windows 10 machine, which is our standard operating environment. We've added in an extra hard drive so that it's got a place to save an image of so it's going to save an image back to the data drive, and then it will copy it back up into the client images up on the WDS server once it's done that. So what we need to do now is sysprep this and do a reboot so that we can boot up off the network boot image, this one here, the capture image. So let's just type in sysprep here, sysprep. Oops, helps if you can spell prep. And click on that. What's it doing? Okay, type run sysprep. That's what we want, the sysprep program. Okay, so we want to generalize, which strips out the security ID and the name and all that sort of stuff out of this virtual machine before we image it back up. And we're going to tell it to do a reboot so that we can boot up off the network. Okay, so let's hit OK on that. Okay, so now it's just starting to restart. Okay, so as this reboots, we want to hit F12 as it gets an IP address so that we boot up off the network. Gets an IP address, we hit F12, so it contacts the server, and we pick the capture image item off the menu, and it's loading down the bottom there the Windows 10 Pro x64 capture.wim, which is the WIM that we created. Okay, we're into the wizard now, Deployment Services Image Capture Wizard, so I'm going to hit Next. The volume to capture is drive E. Oof. It's the only one that's coming up. Image capture name. So let's go Windows 10 Pro x64 golden image. Control V. Description. Change that to golden capture image. We can go next. This is the location that you want to save the install. So we're going to go to this PC. This is our local PC. So you can see our drive E was actually the drive that we needed. The data drive is actually the empty drive. So when it came up with drive E, it was picking the right drive. Okay. So it had changed the drive letters. That was interesting, because originally our CD-ROM was drive D and this was drive C, but you've got to remember the system reserved area ends up with a drive letter as well. So it changes all the drive letters. So you just got to be really careful. So we're going to back up to here. The file name, I'm going to call this the 10 capture image. I'll call it golden capture image. Capture image. Okay, on there. Oh, okay, we've got to actually go in there and go save. Okay, so it's going to put it on drive D, golden capture image.wim, and we want to upload it to the Windows deployment server. Okay, so we've got to put the server name in. So this is dc.bmw.local, and we need to connect to it. Okay, administrator at bmw.local, and my usual password. And press OK. So if that's connected properly, then I'll see the image groups. Yes, I can see the client OS image group. Okay, so we're going to go next there. So now this is capturing the image. And this could be fairly tedious as well. So we won't see anything turn up in the client images until it's finished capturing. So it's going to capture the image first. It's currently 0%, and it's got to get on this machine. It's actually capturing the operating system as an image file onto the additional 50 gig drive we stuck on there, the blank one now. So it's just a matter of waiting for it to do that, and then it should upload it up into this client OS part of the Windows deployment services. Okay, so I'm just going to pause along here and just let it do its stuff. All of this stuff takes a lot of time, and yeah, so That's, but I mean, if you're capturing your golden image and it takes a bit of time, that's okay, so long as we can deploy it out. That's all okay. Currently now at 96% for capturing the image. After it's finished capturing the image, it will then upload it to our Windows deployment service. Okay, it looks like it's going to attempt to upload now. So the good thing that it's actually created the image, which should be on the other drive, and once this is uploaded we should be able to just hit refresh on the client OS folder and it'll pop up. So while this is uploading, we could, oh, it's actually starting to move along okay. We could actually go and create a new virtual machine to deploy this back out to prove that it's the SOE or the gold image that we can now deploy after capturing it. Okay, so before we hit the finish on here, I just want to go back into here and okay, I'm going to have to go back up to there and hit the refresh, expand it back out, and then back down to boot images. Sorry, I want to go to the install images, client OS. So here we can see the gold image that's now been uploaded, 24 gigabytes in size. We knew it was big. Okay, so this is finished. So what will happen now is this will do a reboot and it'll go through the normal install and all the rest of it. So I'm just going to minimize this thing out of the road for the moment. And what we're going to do is build another machine and deploy it. So I'm just going to go new. Let's make it a C4 Win 10 Pro. So it's just like this but a different version. Windows, okay, that's all good. I'm going to see if I can make it go a bit faster by giving it a bit more memory. VDI format, dynamically allocated. Let's make this 100 gig. Let's look at the settings for this. Make them both bidirectional. Yep, system. I'm going to untick the floppy disk and move it down. I'm going to tick the network drive and I'm going to move it up. I'll move the optical drive down underneath the hard drive. I'm going to increase the processors to 4. Memories flat chat. Wonder whether doing that makes a difference. It's up to memory. Storage, currently you can see it's 2. The network is going to need to be in the internal network on the internal network switch. Everything else will be the same. The main thing is that we boot from the network card first. Okay. So let's start this machine up. So here what we need to do is hit the F12 key when it gets an IP address. So we've hit F12. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use the setup, which is this one, but we're going to select the different image. So this machine is currently starting, but this one is currently loading up our boot WIM. Okay. You have to remember this one here was the one that we'd sysprepped, and the one that we created the gold image from. So it's going to go through another mini setup. This one's we're gonna do a deploy. We're going to deploy to it. Oh, it's looking real slow here. Maybe because we've got a few things running at once here. This thing's done a reboot, but we're not going to hit F4. We're just going to hit escape on that. So that machine will now boot off the hard drive and run through its mini setup. This one we're still trying to get it to. This is loading the boot WIM, and then we'll select that we want the gold image and get that to deploy. Okay, so locale, we're going to change that to Australia. Go Australia. Next. We're going to type in administrator at bmw.local. So we're giving it the domain credentials. Standard password. And here we're going to pick the golden image. And go next. It's going to use our 100 gigabyte drive. We're just going to go next. Okay. So this copies the image file that we've created by dragging it back up off the original reference machine to create that gold image. So now it's deploying out the gold image. And we're going to have two machines here that are relatively the same. So Australia. Keyboard layout's correct. Skip. This machine settings. 2 gigabytes of memory and 2 processors. Yep. This one we've sort of doubled everything to see if it can go faster. It's still retrieving stuff across the network, so probably not. This one's just recovering from the sysprep. That way we can see that this thing's still going. Set up for an organisation. Now the interesting thing is this machine was originally Yoda, I think, that I'd logged in locally. So the chances are I won't be able to log in with Yoda again because it's already there as an account. So I'll try Yoda. And it'll probably have a dummy spit. Yep, so let's try Yoda 2. We can always fix that later on. These questions are a bit of a nuisance. In another video we'll do later on, we'll look at how to do an unattended setup that answers all these questions. So instead of having to hit lots of buttons here like this, we won't have to do that. That's all turned off. No Cortana. It's at this point that it puts all that edge crap back in. But anyway. You can still see things happening in the background over here. I always find that disturbing. Leave everything to us. I wouldn't do that with Microsoft. Okay, so it's gone and put the Edge stuff back in, which I knew it would do. Come on, unpin from the taskbar. Unpin all that crap from the taskbar as well. But you can see we've got all of our stuff installed. Let's do the recycling. And I think I had CMD. And I pinned that to the taskbar. Yep, okay. So that's the menu's dark. I just want to check to see whether the device manager, where I've got which driver I've got in here for the graphics card, that is. Display adapter. Yeah, I've got the Microsoft Basic Display Adapter. Otherwise, it would try and do the virtual glass type interface, and that causes quite a few problems, especially with the settings. Yep, so now it's working quite fine. Yep. Okay, so one of the things I'd like to do with this is to get it to join the domain, actually. That's what we should do. Properties. Does properties go there, or does it go to... you'll notice it's got the device, awkward name. So I do want to rename this machine, but not like that. Okay, I could do it there like that. Okay, so if I go rename, if I can go view your PC's name, is it going to go to there? It is. If I can go settings, will it do it? No, it's going to go there. It's going to insist. Okay. Okay, so you're connected to the internet. Okay, so that's good. We are. Okay, so let's just rename the computer anyway. Okay, rename this PC. Let's call this, this is going to be C4 Win 10. Let's call this A. What I really want to do is join the domain. So let's see if I can go join domain. Oh, it's going to go out to there. I don't want to go out to there. I want it to actually do it. Domain. That's web. System settings. Oh, it's going to a Microsoft account. No, thank you. Okay, so it's a matter of finding out. Okay, it says navigate the system and security, then click system. Okay, it's funny how they've gone and sort of changed things a little bit. Or have I gone to the wrong spot? Looks like I've gone to the wrong spot. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to restart this machine and then I'll get it to join the domain. So at the moment I've changed the name of the computer, but I need to restart it for it to take power. Restart. This thing over here is nearly 97%, that's good. In here I'm just going to click escape to cancel the boot ROM. Okay, I've got Yoda and Yoda 2, doesn't matter which one. They're both, oops, helps if I can. So that's our rebuilt machine restarting. We're going to hit the escape on that because we don't want it to boot from the network. I don't like that when Windows just goes black screen. It's not very professional. Okay, so we're going to go okay. Advanced system settings, control panel. Go back to computer name. You can see that my name is now currently that, but I'm in a work group. So I want to change and join the bmw.local. administrator and the regular password. So it joins the domain. Restart again. Yeah. On this one, the other machine, I'm going to see if I can change the name and join the domain at the same time rather than doing it in 2 steps like I did in that one. So if I go back to our domain controller, and I'll go to Tools and go to Active Directory Users and Computers. Expand out the domain. That's the domain controller DC. The computer now has got the Win10A. So we'll just escape on that one. And where's what's going to be B? That one. Let's put that one to there, that one to there. So this one's back up again. But I want to go other user because I want to sign into a user in the domain. So it's just going to be administrator at bmw.local. So that's the first machine logging in to the domain. So it's creating a new account. So Windows 10A. The other one thing that we could look at too is the DHCP server. And in here we'll see the leases that we've got for the client machines. Scope, address leases. There you've got the Win10A was the one that we just joined to the domain. This one here is the awkward name of the one that we've just rebuilt from the gold image. And it's getting there. So we can see the 2 machines. Later on, when we change the name, we'll do a refresh on that and it'll change its name. Active Directory. We've only got that computer in there at the moment. This one's next. Okay, we want to go to the Australia region. This is the same basics as we had to do for the other one when we sysprepped it. I'm hoping this one's a little bit faster because I gave it twice the amount of resources. So I gave it more memory, more CPU. I don't know though. Okay, we accept that. Set up for an organisation. This will be the same. If I go Yoda, it'll go, nah. Give me another one. So I'm going to go Yoda 2. We turn all this stuff off. Turn off Cortana. It does seem to be performing a little better than the other machine. Can't really tell without putting them side by side, doing a direct comparison. It just feels like it's going faster. I'm going to try another tricky thing. Let's try. Yep, they're all in there. I'm going to try creating a new Ubuntu. Let's go C4 Ubuntu 2104. Linux Ubuntu 64-bit. Let's give it 4096. Let's give it plenty of headspace. Let's give it twice as much disk space as it's asking for. 20 gig. Screw that, give it 50. Okay, settings. Let's make the thing effectively the same as Windows. System, untick the floppy. Now I'm just going to install this via the optical drive. Process, I'm going to give it 4. Display, give it a decent amount of memory. Storage, network, I'm going to go to the internal network, and everything else will be the same. And in the optical drive, I'm going to choose the Ubuntu 2104 desktop. And so this machine has, this is our new machine. Delete, empty the recycling, unpin from the desktop. Okay. Okay, this one I wanted to try and do everything from the one hit. Go computer name, change. I want to change that to C for Win10B. So I'm changing this, the other one was A, this one's going to be B. And I'm going to click domain and go bmw.local. And see if I can do it in one hit. bmw.local. And I'll give the password. So I'll let it restart. So this Ubuntu, I want to see if I can get it to join the domain as well, just for fun. The reason why I think this might work now is on my domain controller I've got the reverse lookup zone set up on the DNS server, which allows NS lookups to work, and I think that's what the Ubuntu needed before in order to join the domain. The Ubuntu 2104 is, I think, basically the first Linux operating system designed to act as a client in a domain, in a modern domain. I'd like to test to see whether it can handle group policy and a few things like that as well. So this is a total experiment here. I'd like to point out that we've actually completed the what we set out to do in this video, in that our Windows 10 original machine, we turned it into a corporate desktop reference design, and then we imaged it back to our Windows deployment server as a gold image. And so on our server we have in WDS we have a gold image, so that's what we were aiming to do. So in the install images on the client OS, we've got this gold image that we pulled back from our original reference machine, and then what we've done is we've cast it out to this other machine. So I'm going to use the other user, and I'm going to go administrator at bmw.local, and I'm going to use the usual password, and this machine's going to log into the domain as well. So I've now got this machine in the domain, and this machine will be in the domain as well once it's finished setting things up, because it's a new account. What I am looking for is if I go try Ubuntu here, it'll run it as a live CD, so it won't actually install until I tell it to, but I can test to see whether I've got the connectivity that I need to the domain controller. That could be interesting. So back here on the Active Directory users and computers, if I do a refresh here, you can see I've got 10A and 10B. They're the two Windows 10 machines that are both in the domain now. So I've got both of these in the domain. So that's good. And so I can minimize these out of the road at the moment. They're all working pretty much the same. So on here, if I look at the settings, connected, it'll tell me I've got an IP address and everything like that. Connect automatic, okay, cancel that. So what I want to do is an NS lookup. So I'm going to go to the terminal. There's the terminal. And do an NS lookup. bmw.local. So it does give me bmw.local is 192.168.3.2, which is what I was after. So if I just go ns lookup bmw.local, which is the domain name, it finds it. So that's what we're after. As 3.2, that one there. Okay, so we're going to give this thing a try and see if it works. So I'm going to go install. Double click probably. This is just a pure extension. It's, we've actually finished the video. People could stop. This is just playing with Ubuntu at the moment. So I'm going to continue. We'd have English Australian. Continue. Normal. Download updates. The important thing that we need to do this is because we need it to install the network tools. I'm not 100% sure if I go a web, like a minimal install and go web browser and basic tools, does it install the tools required for it to join the domain? Like, does it have the network tools? I'm not 100% sure. So I'm going to do a full install, even though it's got Office software and games and media players, which I don't actually want. So some other time I'm going to try the minimal install and see if that works. So let's go continue. We'll just do the full install at the moment and download the updates. So I'd have to assume that you could get out to the internet. It's got DNS and all that sort of stuff, so it should be able to. We'll soon find out. Interesting to see the difference between a Linux install and the Windows 10 installs. Okay, we're going to continue. I'm just using the defaults in here at the moment. Okay, it's in Sydney, that's good. Okay, so here's where I want to pick Active Directory. Okay, your name, Yoda. Your computer's name is going to be Ubuntu 2104. I'm going to put C4 at the front because that's what I had before. Choose a password. It says it's a fair password. Okay, and use Active Directory. We'll see what it does here. Domain. Okay, so I'm going to go bmw.local and I'm going to test the connection. Ooh, green tick. Domain administrator. So I'm going to go administrator at bmw.local. They only contain lowercase letters, digits, hyphens, and underscores. Oh, okay, so it didn't like all that stuff. Okay, let's see what happens. Seems to have accepted it. That's exciting. Let's see. It's not in here yet. I'm saying yet. I'm assuming that it's going to. It'll be exciting if it does. Hasn't copied any of the files, hasn't downloaded any of the tools yet, so I'm a bit ahead of myself there, I think. At least it accepted all of the credentials and everything, and didn't have a whinge about the domain info, so we'll see what happens. It'd be a very interesting day if Windows Deployment Services could deploy a Ubuntu operating system now. That would be amazing. Impossible. Linux has got its own way of deploying stuff. Basically, it's just a script where you it's like an unattended setup on Windows. I have to say that the Windows deployment has turned out to be relatively easy in that you can quite easily load in the boot Vim and extract the correct install Vim that you need. Just shove them up in WDS and deploy. And then, casting back a gold image or reference image from any machine that you've already got pre-set up back to the server and then deploying it out to other machines is also relatively easy. So that side of it seems pretty good. I think trying to get it to almost zero touch or light touch, or I think that's actually a little bit more difficult in doing the unattended setups. But that's another video we're going to look at where we'll attempt to absolutely minimize the amount of touching of the keyboard. So I think what we're going to aim for is something like where we hit F12 as part of the boot process and get it to boot from the server and do a total install without touching. The interesting part would be also to get it to join the domain as well. There's a way of pre-registering, so you can take the MAC address of your network card and pre-register it, give it, have a name that goes with that MAC address. So assuming that the MAC address never changes on that particular machine, that's sort of like the way that you're referencing that machine is via its MAC address on the network card, and assuming you never change the network card, you're right. And then I think you can probably wake the machine up with a magic packet and rebuild it remotely with a zero touch methodology, probably from something like MDT, so Microsoft Development Toolkit. So something a little bit more sophisticated than WDS perhaps, although WDS with an unattended file might well get you pretty close to zero touch. And you can do things in DHCP, options 66, 67, which point to a specific boot WIM and server and boot WIM. So you could go wake that machine up and tell it to boot from the server and do a rebuild if you've got it zero touch. So that's only if you've got things pre-registered, obviously, like MAC address and the name of the machine. Anyway, let's see how this Ubuntu goes. Oh, it says it's configuring Active Directory. Oh, configuring bootloader. Interesting. If it's configuring Active Directory, must have the network tools. Let's do a refresh. Look at that. Ubuntu, C4 Ubuntu 2104 is now an Active Directory member. Wow. That's pretty incredible. So it's getting rid of all of the like language patches and packs and everything from other languages, just getting rid of all of those. Yeah, so we only want Australian English, or Australian. So it looks like it's still installing. Oh no, it's still removing stuff as well. Okay. So it looks like it's actually getting out to the internet and downloading additional stuff, updating things, I suppose. Okay, so installation is finished. Okay, so we'll restart. So now it should boot up off the actual computer. Okay, so here we go to devices, optical, and make sure we removed it and press enter. So now it's booting up off the actual hard drive rather than anything in the optical drive. This will be interesting, see how it logs into a domain. I'm impressed that it could even join a domain as part of the installation procedure. Yoda. Okay. Not listed. Username. Okay, let's go. Administrator at bmw.local. Password. Give it the usual password. Okay. In theory, I have just logged in to Ubuntu using the domain administrator's password. Nice. Awesome. Skip. Next. Is that previous? No, don't send information. Okay. Let's go other locations. Windows Network. Ooh. Connect to a server. /dc.bmw.local. Maybe I'll just go DC. No servers found. Okay. On this computer. Failed to retrieve share list from server. No. Okay. So other locations. That's home. Okay. Documents, downloads. Okay. So there. Okay. Well. We got it to join the domain. That's what I attempted to do. Finding out how effective this actually is using group policies and all the rest of it, and getting it to access network shares and things like that. It's all the subject of another video. So at the moment, that's fine. Here we're going to end this video here at the moment. So we've got our original. We've got our server. We've got our original reference machine. We've got the machine that we built from the gold image that we that we sent back from this machine. So originally we deployed an operating system to this. We then turned it into the standard operating environment. We then cast it back as a gold image to our WDS server, and then deployed it out to this machine here. And lastly, what we did was we got our Ubuntu machine to join the domain as part of its installation procedure, which comes up here in Active Directory, users and computers. So we've had a good time, and we've got quite a few more things to do in another video, I think. So anyway, we'll end this video here.